Hello and welcome. Today's video is going to be about this HD video capture device. I dumped the firmware so I can share the firmware for it in case you guys brick it. In the manual it says there's a way to update it by creating a file. It's just I've tried it lots and I just haven't been able to do it. And yeah, so I'll just show you guys the internals to this guy. So there's 4 screws here, there's pads too, you have to remove those, and after you remove that, the box just comes apart. Alright, so the pads we're after are right here. It's your ground, your TX, and your RX. This isn't a standard pinout, so if you're going to use pins, you have to do them individually like that. Otherwise, they won't fit in there. The main CPU on this board is a High 3520D. And then the flash chip is an MX25L12835F. Right, and that's the chip we're actually going to have to dump. So I'm going to show you the serial part of it right now, just to show you that you can get into terminal and how uboot you can't get into uboot, because usually you can just dump the flash through uboot, but this chip here or whatever, or the code or the firmware, they left out part of the uboot code that lets you push Control C. But I did find a trick where if you corrupt the firmware in a certain spot or whatever, it lets you get into uboot once. And if you do that, then you can change the uboot boot command so you can boot off USB, like I did in one of my other videos for the Kodi box. So you can just make a simple command for it to check the USB. If there's no file on a USB, then it just boots up normal. This way you can edit the firmware at your will or whatever. And yeah, so you can change the menu and stuff like that. So I'm just going to show you this right now. So what you're going to want is an FTDI or any USB to serial adapter. I'm just going to be using one of these Arduino chips here. I just rather use these things now because I suggest buying one of these as well and just converting it over to one, because you get more use out of it than just a simple FTDI. So this way you can still do Wi-Fi scripts or whatever you want to do with this. Plus you can use it for so many more things. Alright, so the connections we're after here is the ground, TX, and the RX. It's okay if you get the TX and the RX backwards. Just you won't get nothing in your terminal or on your screen or whatever. A couple of other things about this as well. There's actually something interesting here where it says the TXOPTXON. So I'm not sure if we can actually hook up an external SSD or even maybe a network, because this chip, actually the firmware, totally supports network capability. So we might be able to hack in a network into this guy. The chip on here is actually the same chip that you'll find on all 16-port DVRs or 8-port DVRs, 4-port DVRs. So if you're looking for firmware, because the uboot is missing the Control C stuff, we might be able to just grab the firmware off, or the uboot part of the firmware, and copy it to the chip, and we'll get uboot. To me, uboot's sort of important because you can just play with the commands and stuff a little bit easier. But anyways, I'll show you the uboot and the terminal quickly, and a couple of other things inside. So the next step here is plug in the power, but don't plug it into the AC yet, or into the outlet yet. Just get this guy ready. And then plug this into your computer and open up TerraTerm. Alright, so I'm going to plug this, your FTDI or whatever, FTDI, into your computer, or USB to serial. So you plug that in first. This is probably going to make the thing fall off the table. Alright, so open up TerraTerm, serial, pick COM 4 or whatever your serial adapter's on. Mine's on 4. Okay, setup, go to serial port and pick 115200. See if I can do that. Alright, now plug in your box. Okay, if you notice there, it doesn't give you a time to get into uboot. You can try Control C, escape, enter. I've tried every combination, you just can't get into it. And after looking at the firmware, it's just missing a big chunk of the code, I'm pretty sure. Okay, so now you're in root. So there's the stuff there. If you plug in a USB drive, if you want to copy files over to it, it's in mount, obviously. So you can just CD to mount. And it's in HD0 and HD1. Right? If you want to play with the menu codes is, or not the code, the pictures are in user, I believe, and app, and then in res, I think it is. Res, and there's the main app right there, the HDM100. There you can look to see what firmware file it looks for. It looks for a script in home upgrade dot something, and it just doesn't exist. So I'm not even sure if this thing can actually upgrade through the USB. But anyways, there's the pictures there. So if you want to change the menu, I'll just show you those quickly. I already copied them over to the USB. So here's the pictures here. I just added PNG to each of them. So here's all the pictures you can change if you want to change your menu to a custom menu if you want. And that's it. All right, so that's basically all you can really do here. I mean, it does have support for network and stuff like that, except we just have to hack on a network and stuff like that to it, or even maybe make a USB adapter that has network capabilities. That's if something you're interested in. Anyways, so now I'm going to show you how to dump the firmware and how to get into force uboot or whatever. All right, so we're going to remove the USB from it. So now our only option is to dump this chip here, and this chip is an MX25L12835F. So we're just going to be using an EEPROM dumper right here. So I have another video on my other HDMI box, and I actually used an Arduino, a Nano, to dump this chip. So if you want, you can watch that video. I have all the package and files. If you don't have a EEPROM dumper, you can just use something like this to dump it if you have to. I have all the files on that guy over there if you need it. All right, so we're going to be using this CH341A Pro, and the way it gets hooked up is here. So your number 1 pin's there. I'll just show you the jumpers. Okay, blah, blah, blah. So the red pin's your number 1 pin. And make sure you look for the dot right there. And you just carefully attach this. I'm going to have to do this part out of the video after when I'm dumping it, because it has to be close to my computer. Just take your time, make sure the clip's on properly, like that, and then you're good to dump it. All right, so I'm going to have to move this closer to my computer. Don't attach power to this. This will power your board, so make sure this is the only power this board is going to get. Otherwise, you might actually fry this board. All right, so you'll want to go into my package. I'll just plug this guy in first. All right, I'm not sure what the package name will be yet, but I'll have a package for sure in my description. So I use this program because it just works better than the default program most of these boards come with. Let's see if it's going to work. So the first thing you're going to want to do is read ID. And we're looking for 12835F, this guy here. So you can close this down. So you'll want to read the chip first. And I suggest reading the chip at least 3 times or 2 times, and then using Hex Edit or Hex Workshop or whatever, and do a compare and make sure both files are 100% before you proceed with erasing a chip or anything. All right, once that's done, you can save it. Okay, we'll call this one a good one. We'll call it good backup. Okay, so once that's done, like I said before, I suggest doing it twice. So now we can go into that folder, and I'll quickly, okay, I'll do both at the same time. All right, I'll go into the backup folder. I'm going to hex edit this guy. Edit, fine. We're looking for boot delay. there. And we want to find the one with all this stuff here, which we'll copy after. So we're just going to change this to like a 3. But that'll corrupt the checksum. So that should be good to go. So now we're going to save this. We'll save this as force uboot. Save. Okay. So what this is going to do, it's going to corrupt uboot, and it's going to give us the prompt for uboot. So then we can change things. So exit out this guy. So now back in asprogrammer, you're going to want to erase the chip. And again, make sure you did a compare in workshop or whatever. At least download it 2 to 3 times just to make sure you have a good copy of it. And really, even if you don't, mine should work with yours, but it's always best to have yours. So I'll include my I'll include my good backup. So this is the Unbrick part of it. So if your flash did corrupt somehow really bad, you can just use my good backup bin or whatever to restore yours. Okay, after it's done erasing, now we're going to want to load. I'm not sure if I did that. I have a bad memory. Open file. And I'm going to click on my force uboot one. And then I'm going to write to it. Program IC. Alright, so that's finally done. I forgot to mention we have to rebuild the uboot. I think I mentioned it. I just have to show you how. So you'll want to go back into your good one here. I might be able to use that. Okay, so this is your default one, so there should be one more somewhere. So this guy here. So push it about 3 times, I guess. You'll find this boot delay here. So you'll want to copy from there all the way to the bottom here. Then just make a new text document. And this is the information you're going to need to rebuild your uboot. So I'll include this in my description as well, or in my package, because it's a little bit time consuming. So basically after every period here, you're going to have to push enter and make a new line. So I'll just fast forward this. And then you have to get rid of the periods. So what I like to do here is just get it ready for copy and paste. So you have to get rid of all the equal signs too. So just save this as like a raw copy, I guess. So save as raw, I guess. Printing v sort of rawish. And then save this one. And paste, copy, paste. All right, so this one is almost ready. So now we have to get rid of the equal signs as well. All right, so I believe it's this guy here. You have to add this to it to be able to copy it all. Okay, so that one should be able to copy now. So now you want to add in front of each one is set env. And we're just being lazy here. We're getting ready to just do a copy and paste in a terminal after. But like I said, you don't have to do all of these because the IP and stuff and the MAC address is already set up for it. And then I guess I'll just finish it off with save env. And here, that should be actually good like that. So this one's ready now. Okay, so now I'll jump back with the serial. All right, we're back on this guy again with the serial. So we're going to hook this guy back up again. So we can use the prompt. So it goes ground, TX, RX. All right, so those connections here, and we can plug this back in and get back into TerraTerm. So we can close this stuff down, and we're going to need this after. So again, your serial port runs on 4, okay. Serial port baud rate 115200 again. And then plug in your HDMI box. And if all went well with the force uboot, you should get this now. So now we're in uboot. So now we can print env, and here's the default settings. So it would be smart now just to go back and forth and remark the ones you don't really need to be copied. So I'll just fast forward this part of it. All right, so those are the only ones we're going to need to copy over now. So all you have to do now, if you're going to use my file, is copy this. Right click once and it should paste it. Then push enter. Find the next one. Paste it. Okay, so the last one here is the boot CMD. So this is the one where you can actually change it to like USB boot or whatever you want to do. Most likely you would want to change it so it boots off the USB, and it does have that support. So if we go help, here's all the commands it has. So there's a USB subsystem there and a boot from USB device. So that's most likely what you would want to change that to. So after you've done the changes there, just keep in mind as soon as you paste this in there, what did it say? Did something wrong there. Okay, here too, you're going to have to mess that up. You're going to have to add these to this guy too. Oops. All right, it worked that time. This time, save it. Save env. So now on the next reboot, if I didn't mess things up by type in help and stuff like that, it should just boot right back into the normal system. So that's kind of annoying. So that's why I really suggest even making a dummy thing just so it checks the USB. I made a video on the Kodi box where I did that, I believe it was, where it first checks the USB drive for the boot file, and if it doesn't find it there, then it boots off the normal flash, and that's what I would suggest doing here. Anyways, so now we can just reset it and see if it boots up. And there you go. And we're back in again. Alright guys, I think that's about it for the video. So if I had a choice out of the two boxes, this one or the other video I had done with my other box that I'm still using even today, that I made part of this video with even, I prefer that other box more because it does everything in basically real time, where so if you're somebody like me that has 2 monitors or 3 or whatever, and you're outputting into 2 TVs, the other one will be out of sync about good 3 to 4 seconds because this box is running Linux, so everything's gonna be delayed just a little bit or whatever. So it's hard playing games and stuff like that, listening to 2 things being so out of sync or whatever. Besides that, this box has more potential for hacking. So if you're into stuff like that, this is definitely a good toy to play with. But the other box is just more, it's just better. It just works. You push record and that's that. This one comes with the remote, but my other box, I just hacked on a Wi-Fi thing and made my Echo Dot be able to start recording just by saying start recording. So I still use the other box over this one, but it's an interesting toy. Alright guys, I'm sorry like usual that the video went way longer than I expected. If you just want to unbrick it, you could have just jumped around in a video. I kind of should have just made it to the point for that part of it, but I did want to show uboot and other stuff in case people are interested in hacking it. Alright guys, that's it. Like and subscribe please, and that's all.